Hey there, back to kitchen table, reference table, earth science, where the dog may be snoring, but the kettle's always hot. So we're back with pages 2 and 3 from the earth science reference table, combined with pages 8 and 9. I'm going to show you how these questions will bring these pages together. So let's start out with what you have just learned on pages 8 and 9. So I'm putting these guys aside for the moment, and here's this page. So let's pretend that we have a fossil. Let's take one of these ones from the bottom. All of these on the bottom here are index fossils. That means that they were very, very common, but only for an extremely short period of time. So for example, here's this dinosaur. I do not know how to say its name properly. I'm going to call it Colophysis. I don't know. We're just going to call him Dinosaur L because I can say that. So Dinosaur L they have a picture, they have the letter down on this index fossil, not drawn to scale, part of the chart. Find this guy back up here in the time distribution of fossils, including important fossils of New York. Here's L. If you want to know when L lived, it lived exactly where that circled L is. So going back across here, it lived in the late Triassic. So fossil L was this particular species of dinosaur, and it lived in the late Triassic. Other fun and exciting things that were going on then were the earliest mammals were first showing up. There are some fossils, there's some of the rock record from the late Triassic that are found in New York State. The intrusion of the Palisades sill was happening, more on that later. Pangea was beginning to break up. And you can tell that L is a kind of a dinosaur because it is part of this bar that says dinosaurs. So dinosaurs in general lived through this entire time period. L was one particular species of dinosaur. Think of it like, a German Shepherd is one kind of dog. A Pomeranian is another kind of dog. So they're related to other dinosaurs, but it is its own species. Okay, so taking this one in particular, we can find out what part of New York would have had, or you might be able to find this fossil. Remember, L is from the late Triassic. If you go back to this page, here it says late Triassic, and it has a symbol of diagonal dashed lines. So you have to find where the diagonal dashed lines are on here. This one's particularly annoying because it's just a teeny tiny little spot. It is right here. So diagonal dashed lines, diagonal dashed lines. That means right here on the border between New Jersey and this lower area of New York. This is very close to, I think it's by the Tappan Zee Bridge, trying to figure it out. It's one of the bridges that goes across the Hudson, but it's near the border of New Jersey. There's this little bit that sticks out of late Triassic and early Jurassic rocks. What kind of rocks? You'd say, okay, they're conglomerates, red sandstones, red shales, basalt, and diabase. Do you know what all those are? Not yet, but just wait until next week and then you will. But that is the location where they can be found. So let's do another one. Let's find another happy fossil. How about this? The feather duster of the crinoids. This one again, I do not know how to say it. I'm going to say Tenocrinus because that's the way I'm going for it. And I'm going to try to sound authoritative. So Tenocrinus is fossil I. So when did Tenocrinus live? Here's fossil I. What is it? If I look on this long bar again, I go, okay, it is a member of the crinoid family. What's a crinoid? Again, wait on that. I promise I'll get there. How long have crinoids been living? Well, crinoids first showed up in the Ordovician, and they are still around. If you follow this up, this means that members of this family of creature or plant are still alive today. So some of these things, like graptolites, are not still alive today. See the way that bar ends? that means that they died out. And another species that's still alive today are the gastropods. So don't forget, each one of these little letters is a particular species within a group. And each one is an index fossil. If it has a letter like W, that means that this particular snail was really common, but then it went extinct relatively quickly. It only lived at this time period of the Ordovician. All right, anyway, coming back to our friend the feather duster, the crinoid eye. So here's crinoid eye. When did crinoid eye live? Well, follow it back across. It lived in the early Devonian. Devonian is the period. You'd say early Devonian if they ask for the epoch and the period. If someone wanted to know what era that was, you would say, oh, the Paleozoic era, which is part of the Phanerozoic eon. So it's kind of like, remember the whole thing with the phylum, genus, species, and all that sort of thing? Eon is the really big category. Then slightly smaller is the Paleozoic. Then slightly smaller is the period of the Devonian. Even more precise is the early Devonian, which includes the epoch. These dates are very nice. They might ask you something about this, but if they're asking you to name the period in the epoch, I don't need the date. So you follow along, and here it is. It's letter I. What other fun and exciting things was this crinoid alive to, I don't know, see if it could see? Well, the Akkadian orogeny, which means that mountains were being built, caused by the collision of North America and Avalon, and the closing of the remaining part of the Iapetus Ocean. You know these words because you looked them up when you were doing that vocabulary assignment. Well done. Okay, so where can we hope to find a Tenocrinus fossil? All right, early Devonian. Coming on back to here. We got Devonian is the dots. So here's Devonian. There's actually another one of these charts that is more specific with early, middle, and late. But the one that's in your reference table just lumps them all together. So that's what we're going to do. What kind of rocks are in this Devonian bedrock? We have limestones, shales, sandstones, and conglomerates. The Silurian also contains salt, gypsum, and hematite, but we're going to ignore that because we're talking only Devonian. Where could we find this fossil? Any place that has the symbol for the Devonian. So all of this, with all these nice little dots, this whole area has rocks from the Devonian. So a test question might say, would we be able to find a Tenocrinus fossil in Elmira, New York? I'm picking on Elmira because you already know where that is. So here's Elmira. It is surrounded by, or it has Devonian bedrock. This is a Devonian fossil, so yes, we can have a chance to find this fossil in Elmira, New York. And then they might say, what is the landscape region where you could find that? Well, that would be in the Allegheny Plateau. So you have this chart, goes with that chart, goes with that chart. You see? Oh, let's do one more because this is so much fun. Okay, let's do let's go all the way over here to the Muscovopher. Actually, no, it's the same time period. Let's do a Eospirifer. This one. This looks kind of like a shell that you might see at the beach. It's a brachiopod. Brachiopods look kind of like a clam, except they have a bend in the shell itself. And I wish I had a fossil. I had some at school. I do not have them in my house. But it looks like that. So Y is the letter for the fossil. Here's Y. What kind of creature is it? It's a brachiopod, because it's part of this bar that says brachiopods. When did that particular index fossil live? It lived in the Silurian period. What else was going on? Well, there were abundant eurypterids. There's the earliest land plants and animals were also showing up in the Silurian. The earliest insects were showing up then. But Y is kind of in the middle. So Y might have never gotten to know an insect. This is sad. But it did get to see that salt and gypsum were deposited in an evaporite basin. Oh, look, another vocabulary word that you know. Very exciting. And if we want to know where Y could have lived, otherwise known as that fossil, you need to find Silurian rocks in New York State. Silurian has the up and down stripes. So up and down stripes, this is the area that has the Silurian rocks. So here's the Silurian. And here's the Silurian, this area. So they could say, or they might get tricky. They might say, would it be possible for you to find this fossil in Watertown? And you'd be like, oh, Watertown has diagonal stripies. Diagonal stripies are from the Ordovician. And my Y did not live in the Ordovician. It lived in the Silurian. It did not exist at that time. Those tricky people, no. You cannot find it in Watertown, but you could find it in Syracuse. So there you go. Putting these pages together, pages 8 and 9, combined with pages 3 and page 2. Thank you.